Hey, what's up, guys? So it is the 15th of September, and took off for a couple days. I thought I had passed a kidney stone like 2 weekends ago, and apparently it just moved from my kidney down to my bladder. So earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday, it was my husband took me driving everywhere to find an ER that wasn't backed up for 5 hours, or an urgent care place that took my insurance. And we found Healthcare Express was open, so thank you. So the next day I ended up passing the kidney stone, and oh my god, it was like, goodness, it was like labor pains. It was like labor. I was giving birth to a kidney stone that was like 1/100th of the size of both my sons, because I had 10-pound babies. But I figured I'd do a video. Had to unplug my little thing. I'm laying in bed here. I just soaked in the bathtub today. I've been kind of not really myself. My husband and I, we went to a counseling appointment Friday, which was yesterday, and excuse me, it's a marriage counseling appointment, but it's not because he's the problem, because he's not. It's me, and our communication is like, he tries, and I did 12 years in the Army. I did about a year and a half, almost a year and a half of, excuse me, Pennsylvania National Guard, and then I went active duty, and I was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I spent 6 years there. And I deployed while I was there from 2004 to 2005. Went to Balad, Iraq, and then I came back because I had re-enlisted during the deployment. I had re-enlisted for Japan, so I came back and I was stateside for about 6 months or so, and then man, maybe 7 months, and then I went to Japan, and I lived there for 3 years. I actually ended up adopting my kid brother and took him with me. So whenever I say my oldest son, I'm talking about my kid brother, David. And he's always called me mom or mommy sissy when he was little, or sis. So he's always been my baby. He always will be. I don't care what anybody says. That's my kid. I took care of him most of his life when he was young, so. But now he's all grown up, and he's a Savannah Police Department PD. He graduated the police academy not too long ago, and he's doing good. He's doing good. They're about to release him soon, out on his own in the streets, so I'm really happy for him, proud of him. But I came back from, I honestly started noticing that I had trouble when I was in Japan. My memory just took off. Like, I really started struggling with my memory. I just, bits and pieces I would lose, or I would start to, like, I could look at a pound of ground beef and know what it is, but I couldn't find the word for it. You know, there's a lot of cognitive things I was starting to struggle with. And I was very, very obsessive about my work and very compulsive too, about physical and the work. So I was really hardcore. I've always been hardcore physically. But I started to notice a lot of trouble with, I don't know, it was a lot of like hidden anger inside of me. There's a lot of different characters in the military. You meet good ones and you meet bad ones, and anyway, and I started to notice that I was reacting emotionally, very, very, very strongly emotionally. I was acting out, either way to the negative end of the spectrum or way to the positive end of the spectrum. There was no balance. Like, I lost my balance in between, so I drank. And during this, I was going through an 8.5-year custody battle with my ex-husband, because I had been overseas for so many years, and they lived with him while I was overseas. It was just like this gut-wrenching, heartbreaking experience. And so I had all that piled on top of a bunch of crazy other stuff going on with me. I never talked to anybody about any of it until I started to see a counselor for my memory issues. And I was drinking, and I was drinking real heavily. I was drinking because of what was going on in the military, and I was drinking because of what was going on outside of the military, and I could put away 9 bottles of wine a day. 9. Now if I drink even like a third of a glass, I'm ready for bed. I just want to go to sleep. 9 bottles of wine a day. Every day. I came back to, I got orders to go to the Netherlands, and then I came back to Hunter Army Airfield, and it's out there in Savannah, Georgia, which is where my kid brother ended up. And I did my last few years there, and there was so much of a struggle with doctors. Like, they couldn't get my diagnosis right. I have 32 different diagnoses for my mental health. 32. You know how many of those were misdiagnosed and stated that they were misdiagnosed by other doctors? My med board, my medical board, which is only supposed to take maybe a year at the most, which is rare, my med board took almost 3 years to close out. 3 years. And all this time, I'm seeing counselors, I'm seeing anger management, I turned myself in for alcoholic classes, you know, like I turned myself in for a lot. Like, hey, I need help because I'm going crazy. I'm drinking, I need a lot of help. And I started to reach out to these resources because I didn't want to live, but I didn't want my kids to live in the situation they were living in. So in order for them to get away from what they were living in and what was happening to them, I had to live. So I got help. I went through nearly a 3-year med board, and I medically retired from Hunter Army Airfield and the Army, and was put on a lot of different medications. And at one point I was put on lithium, and I think I was on lithium for 3 years. And actually I was put on high doses of lithium 3 times a day, high doses. And it actually ended up destroying my thyroid and really screwed up my immune system. And now I have hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's syndrome, And it is a beast. It is so hard to go every day, even with the medication, and just like, even though my entire body and my head is like lethargic, don't want to move, don't want to get up, just want to lay there and stare at the wall for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, not even get up to go to the bathroom. Like that's what the hypothyroidism has done to me. And I ended up becoming seriously obese because of it. So my health took a downward spin, and it was because they were supposed to test my my hormones and my thyroid levels like every 30 to 60 days or something like that, and they didn't do it. They weren't testing it, and the doctor was convinced that I was okay to take everything I was taking, and I continued on, and it is what it is. So that's a little bit of my history, my background, which brings me to our counseling appointment that we had yesterday. I'm very big about taking responsibility for myself, and I'm very big about being like, hey, you know what? I was a so-and-so, I said this, I did this, I reacted this way, it was wrong, and I apologize, and I do everything I can to correct it. And I'm a very straightforward person. And I was straightforward with the counselor. And after we're done talking, because it was the initial, counseling session, she looks at me, she's like, have you ever heard of PTSD? And I said, yeah. And she said, because everything you're screaming, or everything you're saying to me, like your anger, the outburst, the anxiety, the panic, the depression, just like on and on and on and on and on. She was naming off. She's like, it's screaming to me PTSD. So, throughout life throws us curves. Whether you're deployed, or sometimes stuff just happens in life with your career, or maybe with your family, and sometimes people end up with these character traits that are not them. And it's PTSD. It's just a whole conglomeration of all these character traits, and it's like you can't stop living in the you can't turn off the hypersensitivity and the hypervigilance. You can't stop living in the constant momentum of it. So yesterday was after, like, I don't know, 2005, 2006, maybe since 2006. So after like 10, 11 years of being diagnosed with it, which I never believed I had. I just thought I had an attitude problem. I thought I just didn't like stupid people. Still don't like stupid people. But I finally admitted to myself that, yeah, I got this. It was hard. But it is what it is. And you know what? It's time I stopped blaming myself for being this person, this bad person, and feeling guilty all the time for stuff that I do and how I feel. And I just always, there's all this guilt there. There's all this junk there. And maybe it's time that I actually acknowledge that I do have PTSD. And now that I have acknowledged it, I have an incredible counselor. I have an incredible family. And my kid brother, my kids, my big brother in Alaska, my husband, my friends, Andy, who's up there in Maryland, and she was in the Army with me, and then my friend Stephanie, who she's in transition from Bahrain to Georgia, I think, and my Krav Maga family. I got a strong support system, and I've got a good church. And I actually made a friend at the church who, she's so sweet. She's a little older than me, and she's a peach. You know, she checks on me every now and then, and vice versa. But this journey back to Eden that we do is it may be sporadic throughout the month, and there'll be days where I won't be able to do a video, and then there'll be days where I do maybe like a 5-minute video, and then at the end of the week I'll do like maybe a 15 to 20-minute video. But I'm a very raw and open person. I'm very honest, and I share stuff with myself that's happened with myself, with people, mistakes I made, bad decisions I made, good things I've done, you know, goals I've reached, and I share that with people because it was very difficult for me to just see all these people, you know, and they do all these videos and all these posts and all this negative social media, and people are just like, I don't want to live, I'm so emo, I cut myself, you know, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that, and it's just like, I want to be surrounded by adults, like real people, and I want to see real people on social media. You know, there's a lot of real people out there, and I want to be a part of that team that helps others that are maybe too insecure or too unsure to come out and stand out and just be like, I could learn from that person, or what she did was really messed up, but I can relate to it, so maybe I need to not do that, you know, because maybe it was something I've been doing. Or, hey, you know what, that's a really awesome goal to achieve and attain, and I want to do that, and then I'm going to explore like everything else that's around that and outside of it. That's what I want for people. I got a lot of emails, text messages, phone calls. Sometimes people contact me through Facebook. A lot of people interact with me actually socially, like person to person, and be like, you know what, I saw what you did, and I watched your video, or I listened to your thing, or I read your post, and you know what, I'm really glad that you're open like you are, because I've been struggling with that or whatever. So that's what I want, and I'm really big about keeping things anonymous with who I speak to. So that, I think that's why that's very important to me. So if you guys gain any kind of inspiration from anything that I post or I share, feel free to contact me about it. And you know what, I will do resource for you too. If you need help with something like with PTSD, like especially with what I discussed yesterday with my counselor, she's given me some tremendous resources, and I'm really excited to take this step in my future now. And I want to overcome things, and I would love to help you guys overcome things too. Alright, So, love you guys, and I will make another video soon. Okay? Alright, bye.